Now it's time for something different.
Welcome back to this week's episode of the Hot Death Horror Podcast. Um, Having a pretty cool guest on this evening. I've chatted with him a little bit on Facebook and got to meet him a little while ago. I'm a fan of his first feature, it's Chest, available now on Tubi, multiple platforms. You can watch Chest just about anywhere. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on Mr. Aaron Irons here. Aaron,
Hello.
how we doing?
Doing good.
Good. Up in Tennessee up there getting some weather. So
Yep. Getting snowed in.
Yeah. Well, hopefully it doesn't last too long for you and you get to get back out there and get to finishing up some filming on Jeffrey's Hell, man. I'm excited for that. It wasn't actually your first feature, Chest?
Chest was my first feature, yes.
Okay, just wanted to make sure I got my info correct here. I thought it was. So Chest, you can catch that just about anywhere. I watched it on Tubi, but it is available on multiple streaming platforms. Really cool concept he had with that. The kind of the backstory to it, spoiler free for those that haven't seen it, but there is a group of people going out in the woods and looking for something, and it turns out they probably shouldn't be looking for it. So if you want to dig into that a little bit, what kind of brought you to the world of Chest? Where did that idea come from? Is that like a true story in your area?
Yeah. So I grew up in East Tennessee, like right on the border of North Carolina and Tennessee in the Appalachian Mountains. And I had a lot of family members, my uncles and just extended family that live up there. And they would always tell us these wild tales and just weird stories, ghost stories, just weird legends and stuff like that. And the one that always stuck with me was the story of the chest. And that was when my uncle told me, and about two hunters that were out in the woods one day during a drought, and they found this waterfall and it had completely dried up, and there was an entrance to a cave. They went back in it and found this giant chest that was like wrapped up in chains and everything, and they couldn't open it. And they tried to go back a little bit later, but the water had returned, and they were obviously never able to go back and figure out what was in it. And for years, I always thought, what was in that? And me and my friends, we used to go out into the woods when I was in high school and stuff, and we would just go hunt for that chest or any other weird things that were out there. And there's a plethora of stories that I've got from those times, like the weird stuff that we saw up there in the mountains. And so as I got older, I obviously gave up on looking for that stuff. So I decided to start making horror movies about it. And it's been nice to have those stories just kind of back there. Whenever I need a new idea, just kind of tap into that. Just weird Appalachian horror stuff. So
yeah, man, that's great to have that in your back pocket, because you can put your own spin on it. It's not like you just have to kind of just think up something and like, oh, this sounds kind of cool. Like, you've already got all those stories in your back pocket, and living, in the area that you live in, the Appalachian Mountains and all that. There's got to be some pretty cool stories for that area of the world. I know that they've made several films in that area, and I've never been, but I've always been intrigued to go check it out. And I know you live around lots of caves and things. Like, have you ever actually gone in there and found anything pretty cool?
In a cave?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've I guess the craziest thing we found were just human remains. There was a cave that we were mapping. I do like cave mapping sometimes. Mm-hmm. We'll find a new cave that hasn't been explored and spend like a year or two going through it and mapping it and making a map and submitting it to there's a Tennessee cave survey database that all those maps and everything are stored in. And there was one cave that we were in, and it was probably the third trip that we were doing, and found a pile of human bones in the back. And then we started looking around, and there were these big mounds everywhere, and bones were sticking out of them. So we brought an archaeologist in there with us the next time, and she went all through the cave and looked at the bones, and she figured that they were around 900 years old, probably woodland Indians, and that cave had been used as a tomb for like more elite members of their tribe, because there are burial mounds within like a half a mile from the cave. So she thinks that cave was for like special families and stuff. Because with the pile of bones that we found, there were like 3 adults, a child, and a dog, all like in the same pile. So they like put everybody into like the whole family, including their pets, into one area, and that was really weird. But
yeah. Just human bones. I found cool looking rocks. I've been to the beach and found some seashells. No, you're over here finding 900-year-old human remains of a whole family and their dog. Like that's a horror movie right there, man. It sounds like I need to move. I'm living in the wrong part of the world. Like you are just loaded with inspiration over there.
There's a bunch of weird shit out here.
I bet, man. It sounds like it. So what? See, now I got to get into that. What's the protocol for that? Like, you find a pile of human bones. Like you mentioned that you made some phone calls and things. You got an archaeologist in there, but like, I mean, what happens after that? Do they put that like in a museum? Do they, or what happens?
Well, we basically just left it be.
Okay.
Because she said, if we were to come in here and do a study, she didn't really see anything that was really like extraordinary. Like it's pretty common thing, and it's better to just, because it is a grave. You don't want to
Right.
mess with somebody's grave. So she was just like, if we take these bones and study them, they'll just sit in a box in the archaeology department for years, and nobody will. So we just kind of left them be and finished up the cave map and decided never to go back there and leave them alone, I guess. I also don't want to get cursed.
Yeah, there's always that. You don't want to be messing with something that you don't want that in your life for sure.
Yeah.
That's just, see, that's amazing to me. Like, to hear that the archaeologist was just kind of like, oh yeah, this is just a Monday, kind of common, human bones. Like, I've literally never seen human bones. So to me, that's astonishing. She just kind of, and I don't mean to downplay what she was saying, but it's like, there's no reason to put them in a museum. This was just, some regular old family. They weren't royalty or something. And, like, to me, I'm like, I would want to study that, but I get it. You don't want to disturb someone's grave, and you don't want to just take the remains and throw them in a box for years, so, but
and
man,
there's a whole thing too with the descendants of that tribe are still around. So in order to do anything with it, you have to contact like local native groups and tell them about it and get their consent to do anything. And we just decided to leave it alone.
Right.
Mess with it.
Yeah. Well, shit, man, that I didn't expect that this early on in the podcast. I just found some human bones.
We're already on human bones.
Already on to human bones, man. We're not even 10 minutes in, and we're talking about human remains. My goodness. No, that's awesome though, man. That is really, really fucking cool. Like I couldn't even imagine stumbling across something like that. And I mean, let alone going in caves at all. Like I'm from another part of the country where there's not a lot of caves. I'm from Washington State originally. There's lots of mountains and things, but I've actually never been in a cave. So to me, that would just be cool. Just to kind of walk around in a cave and see what's there. So sounds like you're a man of many talents.
I dabble in a few things.
I can see from behind you there, you've got quite a few instruments and things going on there. I think.
Yeah, I was a musician.
Yeah.
I was a musician before I was a filmmaker. So now I mainly just use all this for soundtrack and stuff. So
God, see, that's so cool, man. Like you can make your own soundtracks. Like that's really cool, man. Yeah, I think you posted a video a while back of you playing a song or something. You sound pretty good, man. You got quite the voice and everything. So that's pretty awesome, man. I wish I had some of those talents. I am not musically inclined at all. I can't play a single instrument, so that's pretty badass, man.
Appreciate it.
Okay. So a little bit more about Chest here. Is that the direction you wanted to go with it? Like based on like how many different versions do you think that you came up with based on the stories that your uncles told you? How many versions do you think you came up with before you finally landed on the final one?
Oh, well, the first screenplay that I wrote it was almost 300 pages long.
Wow.
And I sent it to it because I'd never written a screenplay before, so I was just kind of like sending it to people that had.
Mm-hmm.
And the first thing was like, well, it's too long for one thing, so I was able to trim it down. But I don't think anybody's movie ever really turns out exactly how they want it to.
Right.
Especially when you have so many things that happen with, you're dealing with a lot of actors and just the elements and unforeseen things that you just have to pivot and change things and stuff like that. But generally, I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. There's a lot of things that in hindsight I could have done better, and I think the best thing to do with that is just to do another movie and do it a little better each time.
Right. Yeah, that's the goal. So, well, for a first feature, man, you pulled it off. It was pretty good. It was really good. Not pretty good. It was really good. I enjoyed it. It kind of took a turn at the end that I didn't quite expect. So that was job well done on that, man.
Thanks.
So you said you were a musician before filmmaking. Did filmmaking ever really even cross your mind?
Well, when I went to college for music production,
Mm-hmm.
and I minored in film, and one of the classes I had for the music production was soundtrack design and Foley, and I loved that class. Like it was so much fun because we would take a scene from a popular movie, just strip all of the audio, and then recreate it. And for a while, I was like, this is more what I want to do for like production. I don't want to work with musicians because most musicians are kind of pricks. So that was kind of what I wanted to do. And I got into the tech world after college just because music production does not pay any money. So I got into a like corporate desk job kind of thing. And then eventually I was like, hey, I just want to make a movie. And I did help some friends that are filmmakers in the back. I would like volunteer for like PA, and I ran like audio on a film back in like 2006, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So I did some stuff there and really liked it. And so when I decided to make a movie myself, I just kind of called in a lot of favors from people that I had helped in the past and got everybody. And luckily I had a lot of people that were actors. So I just reached out to them, and everybody was happy to jump in and help out. So it just came together.
That's good, man. That's good. So have you always been, with your uncles telling you creepy stories, that's kind of a similar story to me. My uncles used to kind of just torment me as a kid, make me watch scary movies and scare me all the time. So was horror something that they kind of helped you get into, or did they ruin it for you by, telling a bunch of stories so you kind of knew movies were fake?
No, I loved hearing these stories and stuff. And, it was actually my mom that got me into horror. She's a big horror movie fan. And my brother and I she's a single mother. So if she wanted to watch horror movies, she basically had to watch them with us. So I wound up watching like Evil Dead and Hellraiser and all these inappropriate movies that are like around 7 or 8 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And I I just fell in love with it since then. And I still, like, every now and then when I go back to East Tennessee, I'll go to the movies with my mom and watch a crazy horror movie, and it's really fun. So we have that. She kind of got me into horror in a way, and my uncles were just like telling tall tales that were putting all these things into my brain, I guess.
Yeah. That's cool though. I mean, that's a good bond to have with a parent. They introduce you to horror, and now every time you go back and visit, you guys are hanging out watching horror movies and stuff. So that's cool. We got a good relationship built based around horror.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite franchise or anything in the horror genre?
It's hard to say, but I'd have to say Evil Dead. I have the most Evil Dead things. Like,
yeah,
got posters everywhere, and a lot of people just for my birthday or Christmas or anything like that, I always just get Evil Dead stuff from people, and I don't want to be like, I've kind of got enough of this stuff, but
yeah.
But Evil Dead, I love Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's probably one of my favorites of all time. Hellraiser, it's great. It's weird. Yeah, I guess as far as classics go, that's kind of the genre that I'm in. I like all kinds of horror, but the weird Evil Dead, Razor type stuff are great.
Yeah, that's a popular one. Evil Dead for sure. I love it. So, the new one, it gets a lot of hate. How'd you feel about the new one?
The Evil Dead Rise?
Yeah.
I liked it, but I don't think it was really it didn't need to be an Evil Dead movie. I think it could have been its own thing without really bringing Evil Dead. It kind of felt like it was just using the franchise for the sake of using it. But
sure.
I mean, I liked it. I just I don't really lump it in with the rest of the Evil Dead movies.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I can see that. It definitely was a little, had a different vibe to it than all the others. The other ones were all just kind of off the wall and, just crazy. And this one didn't really follow suit because it was good. You're right. It was very good. But yeah, as far as being part of the Evil Dead franchise, I think if it was named something completely different, I don't think it wouldn't have hurt or helped the movie really. I don't know, but
yeah, I think it was a great horror movie. It is a subpar Evil Dead movie.
Fair. That's fair. Yeah. So Jeffrey's Hell. When do you expect to release this one?
Well, for now, I'm just kind of shopping around film festivals and stuff to see what I can do there, because I just like going to film festivals with movies and talking about it and stuff like that. And a lot of film festivals they won't accept a film if they're on streaming services or publicly available. They like to have the premiere of the movie, at least in their region. So I'll probably do that for a little while, at least until after April or May, and then try to see where I can put it out. Then I'll probably go through Film Hub again. I did that with Chest, and it has been pretty good. I mean, it got me in a lot of streaming services, and I think that Jeffrey's Hell is going to be a better movie. To be honest, I think the response so far has been really good. A lot of people are saying they're terrified of it, so that's good.
Yeah, no, Film Hub is great. That's who I used for my last one, and Film Hub's great. And the way you're marketing this thing that's my favorite way of marketing stuff. I love it. It's you're putting your real life into the marketing of your movie. What was that intended from the beginning, or was that just kind of like, what, this sounds like a good idea, let me try this?
Yeah, I mean, I've been telling my friends and family for a while now that if you start seeing missing posters with me on them, don't worry. So I mean, there's only so much you can do as far as like faking your death.
Right.
or faking your disappearance, because I'm obviously here right now talking about this, and I
Yeah.
have to, I have to be out there talking about it. So,
Right.
so, the idea is that I go missing in this movie, not a bunch of other filmmakers. So it's kind of a meta sequel to Chess, where the filmmaker who made Chess, goes to explore legends that were touched on in Chess to try to make a documentary. And in the process of that, I go missing.
Yeah.
And it's everybody's reaction to that. So I get to bring back the cast of Chess into this one, where they're all just concerned friends, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it'll be a fun romp for people, and they don't have to see Chess. There's no prerequisite really. It's just, if you've seen Chess, you'll like seeing the characters return and how they actually are in real life. Stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's actually was my next question. Is it, since you mentioned it's kind of a meta sequel to Chess, but so you're saying if you haven't seen Chess, you're not going to really miss out on anything in Jeffrey's Hell.
Yeah, it mentions Chess a lot in the movie, and obviously the characters are talking about their characters in the movie, but it doesn't really. You're not going to miss anything if you haven't seen Chess, but you should go back and watch Chess anyway.
Sure. Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Go back and watch Chess. Now, as far as the marketing of it, and this is just kind of a fun question. Has anybody actually kind of taken it seriously and tried to bust you out? Like, no, this guy's fine. He's on Facebook all the time, because people did that to me. I poorly executed something like that with my last movie, and I was just having fun. Yeah, I was just having fun with it. I wasn't really trying to make it, like that. It would have been cool if it was believable, but I didn't really put any effort into it. You're putting a lot of effort into this. So has anybody actually tried to call you out on it?
Not yet. I'm hoping when people, when people can watch it, that people will do that. Because honestly, if people are taking the time to crack the case, then they're at least interested in it and they're talking about it. So even if they're trying to kind of bust you, they're still promoting it.
Yeah, right. People are still talking about it either way. So that's word of mouth right there. It's getting it out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you plan on doing any other kind of, like, do you plan on taking this marketing any further? Or I know you said that, you can kind of only take it so far, but I mean, without giving anything away, do you have any other surprises up your sleeve?
I don't know yet. I've had a few ideas for things, especially if I start doing the festival circuit.
Mm-hmm.
I've got some ideas, but I haven't really fleshed them out really.
Okay.
We'll see.
Right. And then was Jeffrey's Hell intended, like when you were making Chess, did you think you wanted to make somewhat of a sequel to it, or at least continue the story?
Yeah, it kind of after I wrapped on Chess and everything, because the story of Jeffrey's Hell is touched on in Chess, which it's a true story about a man that went missing in the 1900s in an area, a wilderness area, and they now call it Jeffrey's Hell, where his name was Ebenezer Jeffrey. And I started thinking about, I wanted to do a kind of a documentary on as a bonus feature on the Chess DVD.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of that documentary, I was going to disappear and stuff like that. And I couldn't really finish that before I needed to put out the DVD. So I was like, well, I'll just turn this into a feature. And things just kind of, like, I would be filming something and then another idea would pop in, and there was no real writing process to it. Just general ideas that I fleshed out over time, because I've sort of secretly been working on this for a while. Even all the people that were interviewed, like the cast members, had no idea what this project was about. I just gave them a sheet that said, this is what you know, this is what you don't know, and like, this is what we're going to talk about in this interview. So their responses are kind of natural in a way, because they don't really know what happened. They don't know about the final climax of the movie or anything like that. So it kind of came together pretty naturally and kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
I think it came together into a pretty cool story.
Yeah. Well planned out then, man. That's pretty cool. Get everybody involved, but kind of leave them in the dark.
Yeah.
So
I'll pretend like I knew what I was doing from the beginning. Not flying by the seat of my pants.
right. So currently you're doing, you're kind of in the found footage mockumentary type genre. Do you have plans to do anything but found footage? Do like a traditionally shot film at some point?
I've thought about that, and I do have plans for a trilogy for this whole like Chest and Jeffers Hill, and there's one more that I kind of have an idea about to end cap this whole thing. But the next thing I'm definitely going to stay in the vein of Appalachian horror, just because I don't know, it feels natural to me. I do have a sort of anthology, like a I don't know what you call it. There's like several stories. It's like a campsite basically up in the mountains, and each campsite there's something happening at each one of them. They're all about half a mile from each other, and so it's like several short stories that eventually come together into some kind of cohesive story. I don't know what you call that. It's like VHS, but
yeah, it's kind of like an anthology, but typically anthologies, like there might be like a wraparound story, but none of the individual stories usually have anything to do with one another. But
I guess it'd be more like that movie Babel, where like there's all these different stories, and you find out that they're all interconnected somehow. Or like the movie Go from the '90s. I don't know if you remember that movie.
Yeah,
something like that, but Appalachian horror in the woods.
I love it, man. Yeah, you have all that at your disposal, just based on old stories from uncles, just living where you live. I mean, that must be just a really cool feeling to just be able to have all that right there, because you found human remains. Is there, would you ever consider making a movie out of that event?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I guess I could twist that into some kind of weird horror movie, but there is a human remains element in Jeffers Hill. I did actually film part of a scene at that cave, but just the entrance of that cave. I didn't go back and film any of the real bones, but there's a scene that has human remains in Jeffers Hill that's pretty pivotal to the storyline.
Okay. So is this one, did you have, like, when you're in the cave, you're filming that stuff in there, was that just you, or did you actually have like a crew of people in there with you?
Most of the time it was just me. I didn't go into the cave solely by myself. I would usually I'd go on a cave trip with a couple of people or my wife, and they would go to a certain part of the cave and I would just go somewhere else and film a bunch of stuff. And then sometimes it was just me and a couple other people that are cavers, and we would spend 8 or 9 hours in the cave and they didn't care, which was nice.
Yeah.
Anybody else would be like, I'm not staying down there for that long. But I luckily have a lot of cave friends, I guess, that don't care to get down and dirty.
Yeah. So yeah, because I don't know, like, is that something, since you have experience with it, with caves, and is that something you recommend taking at least one person with you when you do? Like, is it not smart to go down there by yourself? I'd imagine it's not, because if something happens to you, you're stuck.
Yeah, typically you never go into a cave without more than 2 people with you. So a group of 3. That way, if someone's injured, someone can stay with that person, and then one person can leave and go get help. The cave where I was filming the majority of this movie, I'm very comfortable with it. And the area that we were filming in was like 5 minutes from the entrance. So I went out there once just by myself and went back and filmed a bunch of stuff. And, I told my wife like exactly when I was planning to come out. And, if you haven't heard from me by this time, then something's wrong.
Right.
So just having a protocol and a plan of action in place, just so people know where you are and you're not going to get trapped. And, I wasn't going in and doing anything like crazy or anything like that. Because generally caves are not unsafe. It's just doing things wrong that makes you get injured.
Right. What's I guess I don't know how to ask it, but like what's the craziest cave you've ever been in aside from finding human remains, like have you ever gone, are there caves that are like miles and miles and miles long?
Yeah, the biggest cave in Tennessee is 40 miles. And I've probably explored maybe 20 of those miles.
Wow.
That one's fun. And then just New Year's, I spent New Year's at Mammoth Cave in Kentucky doing a mapping trip up there with a bunch of people. And Mammoth Cave is close to 450 miles now, so that's the biggest one in the country. But we don't get anywhere close to exploring that whole thing. But
right,
that's definitely the biggest cave I've ever been in. But
450 miles.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's kind of a big loop, but it goes all over the state of Kentucky and probably up into Indiana a little bit. I'm not sure.
Wow. Yeah, I had no idea. I mean, I knew that there were some caves that were, a couple of miles long or whatever. And like that movie that came out a couple years ago about the kids that got trapped in Thailand, and that one, that was a great movie, I thought.
Oh yeah. I met the diver that led that, Rick Stanton.
Oh yeah. He
was at a caving convention earlier this year and got to meet him and talk to him. He's just a down to earth, cheeky British guy.
Yeah.
Pulled off the most daring rescues of human history, and he's just very humble about it.
Yeah, that's crazy how that situation went down. Like they had to dive for, like, I liked the movie, but I know that it was explained, but I didn't really get a grasp of exactly how far they were going in. Like, did he talk about it at all? Like, how long were they underwater? I know it's like hours.
Yeah, I think the total distance was around 3, 4, maybe 6 miles. I can't remember, but they were swimming for probably 2 or 3 hours, and then they would have to come up and then resedate the kid, and then go back down and then continue on for like another few hours. It took a long time.
Yeah. Wow.
I mean, it's an incredible feat of human ingenuity and camaraderie and everything. Like it was wild.
It's an amazing story. And, for those that haven't heard of that story or seen that movie, it's 13 Lives. I think there's a couple of movies about it maybe, but the newest one is 13 Lives. And I know I watched it on Amazon Prime. I rented it on there. I don't know if it's still on there or where it's at, but that's a good movie for those. It's not really horror. I mean, it's horrific, I guess, but it's not really horror, but that's a good movie for folks to check out. Would you ever, like, say Rick Stanton calls you up and says, I want to teach you how to do this. Would you ever do it?
Hell no. No. I draw the line on cave diving.
Yeah.
Not gonna do that.
That seems intense. That's for sure. Yeah. I don't know that I could do that either. I don't mind water or anything like that, but I don't know. I don't know that I could do anything like that. That's crazy.
Yeah. There's just too many things that can go wrong there that I'm not ready to get into that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that'd be a pretty miserable way to go. Burning or drowning, I think, are my two biggest fears. Burning or drowning, I think, would be the two. Like that would seem like the most torture. People say that drowning is peaceful and all that, but I can't see how, dying from being in the water is peaceful. Yeah,
Nobody knows. Nobody can tell the tale.
Yep, right. So, all right, well, just a couple more just kind of fun questions before we get out of here. Um, these are just a couple that I kind of ask everybody. So the first one is going to be, if you were approached by like a very reputable, well-known studio and they offered you, millions of dollars to make a movie, and they say you get to pick one big name A-list actor. Like the movie can be filled with A-list actors, but you get to pick the one main character. Who's that A-list actor that you're picking, and what movie are you making or remaking?
Well, there's two movies that are based on books that I've always wanted to see made into a horror movie. One is House of Leaves. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's basically about a movie. It's a movie or a book about this. There's a lot of stuff going on, but the primary story is about a family that moves into a house and they discover that the inside of the house is bigger than the outside. And they start discovering these doors that just keep appearing in the house, and they discover passageways that go into this like endless catacombs and just stuff underneath the house, and they're exploring it, and it's terrifying. One of the most terrifying books I've ever read. That would be really fun to make. It'd be hard to do that strictly by the book. As far as the actor in it, if I had to pick any actor, I'd pick Willem Dafoe, just because I love that guy. So yeah, I've definitely picked him.
Okay.
He could fit that role. I think that's the main guy in that. That'd be my choice.
Okay, so Willem Dafoe in House of Leaves.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna have to read that book now. I used to be an avid reader. I used to read constantly. I don't much anymore, but
it's kind of a hard read just because the author Mark Danielewski or something like that. It's written to where once they get into the tunnels, like the pages start to change and the text moves, or like you have to like rotate the book as you read, and like it's all this weird stuff going on. That it took me almost a year to read that entire book. I mean, it's a big book, but
yeah,
it's a lot. But man, it's terrifying.
It's worth it though, is what you're saying. Yeah. I'll have to check it out. It sounds like that game. What was that game? Like Edith Finch or something? I don't know if you've heard of it, but there's a game on, I think it's PlayStation and Xbox. I'm not a big gamer, but What Remains of Edith Finch, I think, is what that game is. And it's like she kind of is walking up to this, I don't know if it's a relative's house, but it looks like a big house. But it's the same thing. You get inside and it's like, oh, here's a door here. And then you go through that door and all of a sudden you're on like a river, and you're walking along the river, and then you see another door here and you go in there and you're back in the house. And then it's like, it's just kind of an endless, you just go everywhere. So that's kind of what that book sounds like. So I think I might give that a shot.
I'm a big fan of anything that has like a weird tunnel that leads to some weird world.
Yeah. Well, you might dig that game. At the time I played it, again, I'm not a big gamer, but I played it once and to me it was confusing. I was like, I don't know about this. It was cool, but I played it for about an hour and I said, okay, I'll put that away. But it's interesting. So that would be good. So Willem Dafoe and House of Leaves. Okay. I like it. It's different. Do you have a favorite cryptid or folklore tale?
I mean, it's hard to beat Bigfoot just because, like, he's or she or it's a classic. There was one I heard about recently. Oh, my cat just showed up. That's the cryptid right there. There was one that, like, I can't remember where it's somewhere up north, but it walks around and it just cries and like leaves like puddles of tears everywhere. It has like this weird crying sound or something. That one was like, it's like, man, that's a weird weird concept. But I gotta go classic Bigfoot, I guess.
Okay. Nothing wrong with that. Bigfoot is, it is. It's a classic cryptid. There's lots of good stories about it, especially up north where I'm from, Washington State. Like there's a lot of Bigfoot stories. So a lot of really good movies about Bigfoot. So would you ever make a Bigfoot movie?
I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of them. I'd have to figure out a way to do it really different.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, you're competing against a lot, Exists, Willow Creek, Tahoe Joe. I mean, just to name the really good ones.
Yeah.
You're competing with a lot, so it definitely have to be different. What is it? I think it's in Tennessee. Is it the Madman? Is the popular cryptid there? I think it's kind of like Bigfoot, but it's called the Madman. Is it? I don't know. Is it Tennessee? Maybe it's Alabama. I don't know, but
I'm not familiar with that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I Googled it one time just to see kind of what's the popular cryptids in every state, and
I know I'm forgetting.
Yeah.
One of them.
Oh, there's a ton. Yeah, there's too many to name, but that one it was Tennessee or Alabama. I don't know, but maybe it was the Wild Man. The Wild Man. It's Kentucky. Never mind. Okay. So yeah, just figured it out. And then lastly, and this one gets a lot of, you've seen it in the groups, people will terrorize you for it. Music and found footage. How do you feel about it? Would you do it?
I've done it to an extent. There's some of that in chess a little bit, but mostly just like I'm not opposed to it. I think if it works, it works. Like I'm not a purist when it comes to found footage. I don't think anybody should try to pigeonhole found footage people into what. I think they should do whatever they want.
Right.
So, like I'm more of a fan of just having like weird drones and like just something to add some intensity to a scene. That because I notice that a lot in chess where there'll be a scene that I'm just like it's not doing anything as it is, but if you add some kind of like even just like a deep like bass drone to add tension, like I don't see any problem with that, and I don't see any problem with experimenting with the genre a little bit. Like I don't hear any found footage filmmakers actually criticizing it. It's always just people that are people that watch it and they're like, don't touch the formula and stuff. It's like,
the rules.
Yeah, like who made the rules? Like,
I'm finding myself now. I'm in no way, shape, or form a purist either. I'm kind of finding myself leaning a little more towards purist as far as things that can be done well in found footage, because I know that. I mean, there are sometimes, you're watching a found footage movie and you're like, okay, this music just doesn't fit. Like it wasn't necessary. But I think you're right with just to add some ambience or something. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I don't think it's breaking any rule or, anything crazy like that. So.
Yeah, I think too that it is good to kind of have a formula to follow. And because if you want to use music, then you can find a creative way to make that music seem like it's supposed to be there.
Right.
I can't
like
think
a diegetic feel, like they're listening to it on the radio or something. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think you can get creative with it and do music however you want. But
right. Okay. Well, I was just curious because that one gets brought up in the groups a lot, and I figure you're a filmmaker yourself. So how does Aaron feel when somebody says something like that? And you're like, well, wait a minute, I'm a filmmaker here, so let me add my input because you've got some interesting viewpoints on some certain things I've read. So
I'm definitely got criticism for having some music in chess that didn't really work or wasn't diegetic, but And
Yeah.
it is what it is.
Right. It's your movie, man. All right, sir. Well, I won't take up any more of your time. I really super appreciate you taking the time to come on here and chat with me. Last, where can folks find you on the socials?
So you can go to chessmovie.com or jeffreyshell.com. Both of those it has all of the social media and Letterboxd, IMDb, and all that stuff on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. So one-stop shop for all those. I like it. All right, man. Well, again, thank you very much. It was great talking to you. I know we've chatted a little bit, messages and stuff in the past, but it's great to finally put a face to the name and have a little chat with you. And I'd love to have you come back on sometime in the future.
Definitely.
Cool, man. Well, you take care. And Chest, catch it on Tubi. I think it's on Plex, Prime Video. You can catch Chest just about anywhere. And then keep your eyes peeled for Jeffrey's Hell to be hopefully coming out this year. I'd like to see it this year.
I think definitely.
All right, man. Well, you take care.
All right, you too.
All right, buddy.
See ya.
Bye.